For a steel dive watch, the first question is difficulty.
The shape looks simple. The machining is not.
Now the icon appears, and it still hides the real labor.
The finish improves beauty. It removes forgiveness. Then the deeper cost begins inside the movement.
Rolex uses oyster steel from the 904L family because corrosion resistance also brings manufacturing consequences.
Harder material protects the watch later, but it punishes tools now.
In this case, small asymmetry becomes obvious very quickly.
Protection has to feel natural, not added. This architecture looks familiar because it has to seal under pressure. A dive bezel is not decoration. Its geometry has work to do.
Too soft and it slips. Too sharp and it feels wrong.
Ceramic gives the watch permanence by refusing almost every mistake. Even the bezel must be hard, legible, and visually exact. One misaligned marker can make the whole bezel feel careless.
Unidirectional action is a safety decision disguised as tactile pleasure.
Transparency is difficult because any distortion becomes visible instantly.
Water resistance depends on tiny parts taking pressure seriously.
The crown must wind smoothly and still lock out 300 meters of water.
If the threads feel wrong, the whole promise starts weakening.
300 meters is not marketing language. It is a geometry test.
The dial has to look simple because complexity would weaken legibility.
Underwater, confusion is dangerous, so the shapes have to read immediately.
The hands must be bold without ever touching anything.
Night readability is engineered long before anyone turns off the lights. The bracelet carries the same burden as the case, strength without visual weight.
This is where loose tolerances start feeling cheap.
Brushing creates calm. One wrong pass creates evidence. Closure is mechanical trust, not just a snap.
Fine adjustment without tools sounds simple until it has to feel perfect.
Comfort matters, but accidental opening matters more. A tool watch fails quietly when balance on the wrist is wrong.
Current Submariners rely on caliber 3230 or 3235, and this is where the price becomes mechanical. Self-winding sounds passive, but efficiency has to be designed into every turn.
Even the rotor support was optimized again because friction is always expensive.
70 hours of reserve begins with packaging energy inside strict space.
On the date version, one extra display adds another system that must not steal stability. Rolex uses the chronergy escapement because small efficiency gains change the whole movement.
Material choice here is about dependable function inside a hostile modern environment.
The spring looks delicate because precision often hides inside the thinnest part.
Rate is corrected here with almost no tolerance for impatience.
Shock resistance is not brute force. It is controlled movement under impact.
Assembly gets slower as the consequences get smaller and more severe.
Lubrication is precision because too much can be as costly as too little.
This is where human steadiness still decides whether theory becomes motion.
Instantaneous change is elegant only if the force arrives exactly on time. Even time setting adds load, and every extra feel has to stay clean.
Once the dial goes on, complexity disappears from sight, not from consequence.
This is precision stacked vertically in fractions you never see.
On the date version, the crystal itself becomes another alignment problem.
Casing should protect accuracy, not disturb it. Sealing only counts when the action still feels refined.
Now, elegance is judged by whether it can survive depth.
Precision is tested in multiple positions because the wrist never holds still.
Rolex wants this watch running within -2 to +2 seconds per day.
The movement only earns trust when refinement survives normal abuse.
A bad bezel feel at this stage would expose every hidden shortcut. Legibility is one of the last things you admire and one of the first things a diver needs. Adjustment must be easy on the wrist and demanding in the workshop.
The harder the engineering works, the quieter the watch is allowed to look.
This object is calm because so many systems are still under control.
Nothing here earns its place by appearance alone. Now the cost sounds less like status and more like accumulated proof.
That is why the Submariner is difficult to build.